Most people believe that laziness is something that happens to them. They wake up one morning, look at their unfinished goals, their neglected health, their abandoned plans, and they say to themselves, I am just a lazy person. They say it the way someone might describe their eye color or their height, as if it is simply who they are. As if it was handed to them at birth, as if there is nothing to be done about it. But that is not the truth. Laziness is not a personality trait. It is not something that was assigned to you. It is a behavior, and more specifically, it is a behavior that you have been feeding quietly, consistently, and often without realizing it, through the small decisions you make every single day. This is what no one tells you. This is what most motivational content refuses to say plainly. You are not lazy because of who you are. You are lazy because of what you keep choosing. And every time you choose comfort over effort, every time you delay what matters, every time you reach for the easiest option available, you are not just resting. You are feeding something. You are making it stronger. You are teaching your mind that comfort is the reward for doing nothing, and that the work, the difficulty, the effort can always wait until tomorrow. And tomorrow never feels different, because you brought the same habit into it. Think carefully about how this works. It does not begin dramatically. Laziness does not announce itself. It does not arrive with a loud warning. It builds slowly, through decisions that each feel completely harmless on their own. You skip one workout because you are tired. That feels reasonable. You delay one important task because you are not in the mood. That feels understandable. You spend one evening scrolling through a screen instead of building something, learning something, or even resting with intention. That feels normal. But none of those moments exist in isolation. Each one of them sends a signal. Each one of them teaches your nervous system something. And what it learns is this: when discomfort appears, we move away from it. When effort is required, we postpone it. When discipline calls, we negotiate with it. And the mind is an extraordinary learner. It remembers every pattern you reinforce. It becomes what you repeatedly practice. So, when you consistently choose the soft option, when you consistently reward yourself with comfort before you have earned it, your mind begins to expect that pattern. It begins to demand it. What started as a decision becomes a default. What started as a habit of avoidance becomes the architecture of your daily life. This is how intelligent people end up stuck. This is how capable people end up watching years pass without building what they always said they would build. It is not a lack of talent. It is not bad luck. It is a slow, steady reward of choosing ease over and over again, until ease becomes the only thing the mind is willing to tolerate. Now let us speak about comfort, because comfort is not the enemy, but its misuse is. Rest is necessary. Recovery is necessary. There is a version of comfort that serves you, that restores you, that prepares you for the next difficult effort. But most people are not using comfort that way. They are using it as an escape. They are retreating into comfort not to restore themselves, but to avoid the responsibility that is waiting for them. And there is a critical difference between those two things that most people choose not to examine. When you finish a hard day of genuine work and sit down to rest, you are recovering. When you sit down to rest before the work has even begun, before you have asked anything difficult of yourself, before you have resisted a single moment of discomfort, then you are not recovering. You are hiding. And every hour spent hiding makes the thing you are avoiding feel larger, heavier, and more impossible than it actually is. Laziness feeds on avoidance. The longer you look away from a difficult task, the more intimidating it becomes. The more intimidating it becomes, the easier it is to justify avoiding it further. And so the cycle deepens. Not because the task was ever impossible, but because you gave your fear of it time to grow unchallenged. Here is something worth understanding at a deeper level. Every single behavior you repeat is a vote. It is a vote for the kind of person you are becoming, not the person you imagine yourself to be, not the person you describe in conversations, not the person in the plans you write but never execute. The person you are actually becoming is built entirely from what you repeatedly do when no one is watching, when there is no applause, no accountability, no external pressure. In those quiet, private moments, when it is just you and the decision in front of you, what do you choose? Because laziness does not grow in the presence of audiences. It grows in the silence of your own unwitnessed choices. Now, this is where the message shifts. Because the purpose here is not to make you feel guilty. Guilt without direction is useless. The purpose is to make you see clearly, so that you can begin to choose differently. And choosing differently does not require some dramatic transformation. It does not require that you become a different person overnight. What it requires is something far simpler and far more demanding. It requires that you stop rewarding the behavior you want to eliminate. Disciplined people are not people who have completely eradicated laziness. That is a fantasy. The pull toward comfort is wired into every human being. Disciplined people feel the same resistance you feel. They have mornings when they do not want to start. They have days when the motivation is gone, when the energy is low, when everything inside them says, wait, delay, rest, tomorrow. The difference is not that they feel differently. The difference is that they do not feed it. They do not negotiate with the resistance. They do not wait for the mood to change before they begin. They understand something that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. The feeling will not come first. The action must come first. And after the action, sometimes, the feeling follows. But whether it follows or not, the work gets done. This is the foundation of genuine discipline. It is not motivation. Motivation is unreliable. It arrives without warning, and it leaves without permission. Building your life around motivation is like building a house on sand. It may hold for a while, but it will not hold when the conditions become difficult. And the conditions will always eventually become difficult. Discipline is something entirely different. Discipline is the decision, made in advance, that certain things will happen regardless of how you feel when the moment arrives. It is the commitment to the action before the resistance appears, so that when the resistance appears, as it always will, the decision is already made. You do not have to reevaluate. You do not have to negotiate. You do not have to wait for a better mood. The decision was made. The behavior follows, and this is built through practice. Small, consistent, unremarkable practice. You begin the task even when you do not want to. Not because it feels powerful, not because you are inspired, but because you decided that you would. And because every single time you follow through on that decision, even in a small way, you are weakening the hold that laziness has on your behavior. You are casting a vote for a different version of yourself. Consider the habits that weaken laziness. They are not complicated. They do not require perfection. They require only consistency applied with patience. You train your body regularly, not because every session feels meaningful, but because the act of showing up when you do not feel like it is itself the training. It is not just your muscles you are developing. You are training your mind to tolerate discomfort. You are teaching yourself, through repeated physical effort, that resistance is not a reason to stop. It is simply a sensation to move through. You limit the distractions that your laziness uses as shelter. Understand that the endless scroll, the passive consumption of content that requires nothing of you, is not neutral. It is not simply a way to pass time. It is an active training ground for avoidance. Every hour you spend consuming without creating, without thinking deeply, without building anything, is an hour in which you are practicing the skill of doing nothing meaningful. and you will get better at whatever you practice. You build routines that do not require daily motivation because routines remove the need for a decision. When the behavior is structured into your day, it does not wait for your mood. It happens because it is part of the pattern, and over time, the pattern becomes identity. You do not have to convince yourself to do the thing anymore. The thing simply gets done, because that is who you are now, because that is what people like you do. You finish difficult work. Not because finishing always feels good, but because the habit of leaving things incomplete teaches your mind that incomplete is acceptable. And a mind that accepts incompletion will produce a life full of half-built things. Half-built plans, half-developed skills, half-lived potential. Finishing is a discipline. It is the practice of honoring your own commitments enough to see them through, even when the initial excitement has faded and only the effort remains. Now, let us draw the contrast plainly. Every single action you take is either feeding your laziness or feeding your discipline. There is no neutral ground. The small choice to begin, even imperfectly, even reluctantly, is a vote for discipline. The small choice to wait, to delay, to avoid, is a vote for laziness. Neither one will feel dramatic in the moment. But multiplied across days, weeks, months, and years, those votes determine everything. The life you live at 40, at 50, at 60 is built entirely from those small, private, unremarkable moments where you chose one thing or the other. So the question you must sit with is not, am I a lazy person? That framing is a trap. It makes laziness into a fixed identity, something permanent, something that cannot be changed. The real question is simpler and more honest than that. What am I feeding today? Because you are always feeding something. Always. With every choice, every delay, every effort, every avoidance. You are feeding either the habit of surrender or the habit of discipline. And whichever one you feed consistently will become the dominant force in your life. The strongest people you have ever encountered, the people who seem to move through the world with a quiet, steady power, the people who build what they set out to build and finish what they start and keep their commitments to themselves, they are not stronger because they were born different. They are not stronger because they found some secret that you have not found. They are stronger because, at some point, they stopped feeding their laziness. Not perfectly, not all at once, but consistently enough that the habit of effort became more familiar than the habit of avoidance. That is available to you, right now. Not tomorrow, not when conditions improve, not when motivation arrives. Now. With the next decision you make, with the next moment when resistance appears and you choose, quietly, without applause, without an audience, to move through it, instead of retreating from it. You do not need to become a different person. You need to stop feeding the behavior that is keeping you the same. Comment: no more excuses.